and gentlemen, welcome back to Working Man Ron Doyle. I've got a little bit different programming for you today. We are working with a coffee break splitter. I've got the Husky 35 ton. I know they play with the numbers on these things. It all goes by the diameter of the cylinder bore is what tonnage that you're actually getting out of this machine. But I want to do a little bit of a video for you all because I've done 2 updates to this video, to this particular splitter in question, and I will be having future videos on things that I do to this thing to make this splitter 100 times better than it ever was. But the purpose of this video is to show you how you can upgrade your splitter for a bright sunny day. Right now we're a little cloudy, we're under the clouds, so it's not too bad on my red neck. But on a bright sunny day, you want to protect your skin from sun cancer or skin cancer, and I've got the perfect solution. I'll try to speak up in this video so you all can hear me. I did 2 modifications to this log splitter, and the very first modification that I did to it was put an umbrella holder on this. I did this about 2.5 years ago. It has worked out to be an awesome complementary favor to this log splitter. I wish all the log splitter companies did this. I've seen, I think it was Split Force, 3 or 4 years ago, were offering a canopy option for their commercial log splitters, and I've decided to implement that idea into a residential type splitter. So what we have here is actually an 1.5 inch Schedule 40 steel pipe, steel nipple. It's cut to about 10 inches long. It's 1.5 inches across, and the pinhole is 8.5 inches down. It's welded to the kickback brace for the log splitter return. So these two actually will disengage the wedge from a log if it gets stuck in the log. That's what these 2 posts are primarily for, which I felt were strong enough to compensate for the strength that I need to hold the umbrella. Now this thing is actually set back from the facing of these 2 about 3/16 to 1/4 inch. So on the return stroke, by chance this log, a bigger log, let's try a bigger one. On the chance that this log gets stuck, this wedge gets stuck in this log, and then it returns back, it won't break this off. So behind this particular piece of tubing, I've got a 1-inch junior channel iron that's welded to the face of this 45-degree bracket, and then this welds to the facing of the junior channel. It's a nice cradle for the flat surface in the back of the channel to the legs marrying up to the surface of this. I'll bring you in for a close-up so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. So bringing you up closer to this, looking straight down on it, you will see the 1-inch junior channel in there, and the legs of the junior channel are actually facing the tubing this direction. So let me set you back up on a stand and show you how an umbrella works in relation to this. Some people call them a market umbrella. They can be bought from different places. I've got a series of holes so that I can do the adjustment up and down, and I've got lines, so in reference I know where to stop it. Now the pin for this, you only need 1 pin for this particular splitter. So I'm going to let that rest, and we go to the front of the tongue on the log splitter, which we all need a catch pin to keep this from popping up. This pin is a DOT requirement that most people don't know about. That pin actually holds your coupler down so this won't pop up as you're traveling down the road. Well, you only need 1 for the splitter because this pin also does the umbrella. Let me show you. So look for our hole, the different holes here. Now if you look down toward the bottom, you'll see my catch pan for all my falls. I'm going to keep that above the catch pan. So we'll pick a spot, line our pin in there, swing it around and lock it on. Now this pin is out of any interference with the log return coming back, so this pin doesn't get crushed out of place. So now I'm gonna go ahead and employ this umbrella so you can see what it looks like. Very little mechanics behind this umbrella. It's a cheap one. It's wood framed. It's a market type umbrella, canvas, all wood, very little plastic with a steel pin that you can see engaging it right there. So there's very little mechanics behind this, and this seems to be, works out to be a very awesome complement to this splitter. And I've done a little bit of touch-up painting prior to doing this video, so you all can get a better look at this. Now, the other thing you noticed that I was doing was I was using a Craftsman style. This is actually a Craftsman style hatchet to cut strands loose from wood like gum. Some hickory sometimes gets stringy. Willow gets stringy, elm gets stringy. I've used this hatchet quite a bit, but I was tired of going through the process of lifting it out of the holster to get it in position to hack away at it. I wanted to save time because I was repetitiously grabbing this. And looking on the splitter valve, as you can see right here, you can see different stamped washers. What I had done was did some measure up and made a holder with the factory bolt holes that are in the log splitter valve, and that actually holds the hatchet very well, that I don't have to repetitiously go back to my holster and retrieve this. It seems to work out really well. It's in a good angle. My umbrella is out of the way of my hand control and using this. The only time that I can't use this particular umbrella with this log splitter is in the vertical fashion, when this splitter is standing straight up. I'm going to give you a little bit better angle on this spacing for this Craftsman hatchet holder. I've got you a little bit on an angle because this port and this valve line up not at a 180 degree plane. So I'm doing this so you all get a visual on this if you want to do this to your splitter. You got, I believe it is a Prince valve. I haven't seen a name on it. Best of my memory, that's what it was. This is actually an offset flat washer. Now your back set from this to that is 7/16 of an inch. I've got a 1/2 inch spacer in here. You're not going to be able to find these. You can stack up flat washers that accommodate with the bolt size, and then do an offset washer on the top. You could use a fender washer, which is basically an oversized washer with a appropriate size hole. And then on these bottoms, let me bring you in a little closer on that. On the bottoms, I just plug the holes with bolts, because on Maryland's Eastern Shore, we have a problem with mud divers. So I just put any bolt in there that lined up with the thread size and the bolt size and the pitch. So hopefully that gives you a little bit better idea of how that thing actually stays in there. A closer look on it. All you do is lift to pull out, and that sits in there. These washers I actually got from Meadows Hydraulics, and the spacers, that spacer that you see I got from Meadows Hydraulics. It was something that they clearanced out, and I was able to get like a coffee can full of them. But hopefully that helps you. Now, something else I wanted you all to see was my implement of using a IBC tote. Now, I've got multiple IBC totes, as you can see. I've got a total of 85. I've got quite a bit of firewood to process this particular year, and I've actually got another load about this same size coming to me again. And I want to be very productive as possible in doing this. And you have spoilage from your wood that you're splitting. A lot of this gets collected on the beam, as you can see right here. Now, the pros and the cons of this splitter: I've never had a piece of wood that it wouldn't go through. I can tell you it's pretty powerful, It has a 16-second cycle time, and that is fully retracted to stroke to the block, the end, which it actually stops 1.5 inches to 2 inches short of meeting the end, and then returns. That's a 16-second cycle time for this size splitter. I believe it is got a 5-inch bore on it. Yeah, it's a 5-inch bore and is a 24-inch stroke, which the overall cylinder length is like 28 5/16. But it's a pretty powerful splitter. It's got a Briggs & Stratton 1650 series motor. Haven't had any problems from this. The only thing I can tell you with this particular splitter, you can see there's a bungee cord right back here. Okay, and it's tied to the quick pin. That is for the height adjustment on the up and down, depending on your tire size. So right now I've got the factory tires that are on here, so I'm at the lowest setting. If you put bigger tires on here, you'd have to adjust it up to this pin. But I had to put this bungee cord on because what was happening with the vibration and this machine at actual idle and running, this thing would revolve all the way around, and you heard that chatter the whole time you were using the machine with ear protection. The other thing that's happened with this log splitter, after a period of use, probably running 50 cords of wood through it, the cylinder seal packing gland actually blew out, and I had to have that rebuilt. The control valve that you see right here is not the original one. I had to change that out. The main control valve that it had when I first purchased this thing from Tractor Supply in Seafood Delaware was that handle. So I was splitting a Y. I knew better, but I was splitting a Y, and as the wedge came back, this umbrella stand wasn't here at the time. It was the Y, the crotch was stuck onto the wedge, and on a return stroke, it actually met up with this. By the time I realized it, I had turned around, I had another piece of wood in my hand. By the time I'd realized it, the crotch, the Y part of the crotch, hit this lever and actually snapped off half of the shaft that goes through this control valve. And it was chafing the outside dust seal. And I used it for a number of years with this being cracked off and only being supported from one ear. I ended up changing that out. I did convert this to an AW68 hydraulic oil this past season. I write my service date 8/16 of 2024 on it. AW68 oil. Primary reason for changing it out to an AW68 is because that's what that machine uses, and I'm trying to conform all my oil that I have around my shop to the AW68. Didn't see anything in the owner's manual about not using this. Looking at different log splitters, I couldn't find any reason not to. They had just a general hydraulic tractor oil. They sell at Tractor Supply is what they normally put in these things. This thing holds full of hydraulic oil. It's about 6.5 gallons of hydraulic oil, which is not that much. A lot of it is stored up in the cylinder. So right now the cylinder is in the returned stroke. All the fluid that's in this is going to be from here to the plunger that's somewhere back in here, is going to store over a gallon, and the remaining is in the control valve and hydraulic lines, along with what's in the tank. A 5-gallon bucket will almost do this splitter. Now this splitter, I can tell you the downsides to this splitter and what I have found out over years of use with this thing. I've owned this for about 10 years. This is not my first splitter, it is my second splitter. The first splitter I had was a smaller version of this, and at the time, 10 years ago, Tractor Supply had it. This is the best one they had at the time. Retail on this 10 years ago was $2,000. I believe we got it on sale for $16.99, so $1,700 is what we paid for this. And of course, like I said, all the repairs that I've done to it. This did not come with it at the time. This was a bolt-on accessory that bolts on here, there, and I see I've lost the bolt. There's a bolt that's missing. And it bolts through the I-beam here and there. A little less to be desired. You can tell wood has bent these over. A little bit on both sides. I'm not crazy about this. This could be improved. I plan on doing videos of improving this and also modifying this particular splitter to fit that mini skid steer. So look for future videos on log splitter modifications. I really want to couple these two together to make this splitter. Right now it's a 2-in-1. It does horizontal and vertical. And when I get it done, it's going to be a 4-in-1 splitter. It's going to fit 2 ways on this Vermeer CTX 160 to bust big rounds. I know a lot of the commercial splitter companies are making their own version. Right now, I can't afford to go out and buy an Easton made. I would love to, but right now this is what I'm working with, and you can see I got to process some firewood, and I got a feeling the wood that I've got is going to be enough to fill all of these cages in what I have. But marrying the splitter with the mini skid, I'll be able to bust these rounds without having to pick them up and put them on this splitter in horizontal fashion or tipping it up so it's in the vertical fashion and busting these big rounds, because it is a very gut-wrenching job to get a log situated down here. Now, another thing that I've noticed the manufacturer's done with this particular splitter and problems that I've had with this thing, on a, could be a hot or a cool day, it doesn't matter. Before I was using the pull pan idea, which is basically the side of an IBC tote. It is sliced anywhere from 8 to 10 inches tall. I've got it through bolted with carriage bolts, 5 carriage bolts, 1/4 inch diameter. As you can see, they go through the other side. This is to support the leading edge, so when I'm pulling on it with a rope with a piece of Schedule 80 conduit for keeping you from chafing your hands, you can jockey the debris around that the splitter produces. Now, all the chafe comes from, most of it comes from the beam. It rides on the beam, travels back, and what happens is the chafe falls on top of this and heats this up to a point where it starts creating embers from the scraps that fall onto the muffler. The embers fall on the ground. Now, I have caught the ground on fire in me trying to produce firewood. I've caught the ground on fire, I would say at least 8 to 10 times I've had the ground burning. I've had the ground burning in the dead of winter. Usually I keep my leg up to the hydraulic tank. It keeps me warm, or at least it keeps my right leg warm, because this is the operator side where I've put the log holder on. I'm operating from the right side of the machine, so my right leg is pretty warm. But I've had the ground on fire from tire to tire. That is no joke. When I was married, my wife was helping me split firewood, and she caught the ground on fire, and I hollered over at her. She didn't know she did it, but all the grass had burnt back in a big circle. So what happens is the chafe and all the scraps fall on this, fall to the ground, and the ground heats up enough and lights on fire. Now, this particular tote, if you look right here, that is a melted hole. That's a melted hole. I think that is the only one. That's the only one that's in this IBC tote. I've got 2 of these. That hole is from embers falling into the pan, and this pan is totally full. After splitting about 5 or 10 cord, I'll take this pan, lift it up with the pallet forks, take it to the woods, and dump the pan out of all the chafe. Could pull some kindling out. I don't want to waste my time with it. But this is the thing you got to look for. Now, with the manufacturers that make these log splitters in China, what they have done, if you pay attention to the new log splitters, they have welded a rail onto this, and this rail just passes the motor on this side, and they've put a rail directly on the other side. And what that rail does is it keeps the chafe on the beam far enough to spill off without falling onto the guard and the muffler of the motor. Other than that, let me show you what this thing looks like in the vertical position. Right now it's in the horizontal. I'm gonna set you up on the stand and I'll show you what it looks like. First thing's got to happen, umbrella's got to come out and that hatchet's got to come off because you can't use it in that position. Stay tuned. I'm gonna put this back before I forget it. Come over to here. There's a pin release. Pull this pin. Set the log splitter up. And as you can see, the log splitter is pretty tall. Just under 6 foot when you stand it to the vertical position. Now I'm going to show you a couple things that I do when I'm splitting big rounds with a splitter. This is to basically elaborate my struggles with this particular splitter in the vertical fashion. We've got a right good size oak round we're going to be busting up. the struggle the vertical position creates when you're splitting wood. It's bad on your knees and it's bad on your lower back. Hunched over. The idea of the wood laying on the ground is to get the work surface even with the splitter plate that's at the bottom. It's a lot of times better if you have it slightly above this because of the nubs. You can't spin the log on the nubs to do your processing as you're spinning it. So normally I'll have a piece of 3/4 plywood nailed to the top of these, but the wood, these wood runners extending over to this location so you can drop the wood on it and slide it over. A horizontal splitter or a vertical commercial splitter is 100 times better than this ever would be. But I plan on coupling this to that so that I don't have to do this no more. It'll be my option if I want to do it this way. I am going to experiment, and I'm going to put this splitter on top of a trailer deck so that I'm working at a comfortable height. I believe Allen Family Firewood tried that in one of their videos. If you're listening, Allen Family Firewood, give me a thumbs up on this video. If all my watchers and subscribers of this video like the content, I appreciate you all giving me a big thumbs up, and consider subscribing to my channel for future things that Working Man Ron Doyle does, and including firewood. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Until the next time, stay safe and keep your nubs. These things will cut them off.